that he's selling the chametz at 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, so we said right. Erica, there's someone at the door. So we said that the forms had to be in to you, I think, by 8 o'clock, didn't we?
Okay. I guess
I'll
so.
double check. Let's see. Okay, I'm also streaming this to YouTube.
Okay, wow.
I record it.
Millions of people here, and I'm very excited.
Oh, fine. I just got this to my door.
What does that say? Your tax rebate?
Our insurance. It's the insurance policy, I think.
Oh.
So. Okay. We have a redo of the poster. We'll use it for now. I'm not excited by it, but we'll use it for now. I'm going to give Nancy some tips.
Well, right now we're at 7:56. We got you and I. So
okay.
Is it possible that people are trying to get in and can't get in?
You got in. I got in. I think everyone else is being Jewish.
What?
I think everybody else is being Jewish. The Man Seder, is it being sponsored in memory of Ryan Watley?
Yeah.
Okay. No, we have more people now joining us.
Hey, Harold.
Oh, look at this. It's Harold. Hi, Harold. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Unmute. Now you can hear me.
Now I can hear you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many we got?
Well, there's 4 of us, including Marvin.
Hey,
So
Marvin.
that's pretty good. You only need 3 Zimmermans.
I know.
Well, I have you, Rabbi Mordechai.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and Michelle.
I left a message today.
She's great though.
I wasn't
Honestly,
in the office much. What was the message?
Well, just to call me.
I guess
So, since I have both of you on, tell me, what's the story with Kiddush? Remember a few months ago, we had it in the back? And we stopped that because what? Because neighbors complained?
Marvin, can I suggest we have this conversation offline?
Absolutely. No problem.
This is being also streamed to YouTube.
Okay. Oh, sure, no problem. Give me a call after.
All right, great.
No problem. I'm not putting any video on because I have to give the new baby a bath with Marsha. So
I was going to say you're not putting any video on because the picture of your granddaughter is so much cuter than you.
That's for sure.
How's everyone doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Not worried. But she's great. And it was funny. You said to her, like,
You want to?
said, so do you have any questions?
I want to mute. There we go. We'll just wait a couple of minutes. It's a Jewish time, familiar.
Understood, Rabbi. How is your dear wife?
She's great, thank God. Yeah, thank you. We wanted to go to Prince Edward County for the anniversary, and we did an Airbnb, and then they said, "Oh, you're coming from Toronto," and they canceled us. So
Right.
It is what it is. So we wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. Now, obviously, that's not happening. But next year, I figure we should spend our money and go somewhere in Canada. When we go on a big trip, instead of giving the money to. Anyways.
Travel local.
I'm trying to convince Rivki that we should go to Kitchen Table and come back, and that's enough.
Right.
Maybe we can go to the Second Cup. I'll get her a latte.
Well, nowadays, a wonderful walk in the park, it just it feels new every time.
Yeah,
It's what we
That's true.
have. It's what we have. But thank you for having me
Thank
for
you
this half
so much.
hour. And of course, when we start formally, I also want to extend my solidarity with the not good news of last week.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, there's you wonder, just, I mean, we're going to start in a couple of minutes, but I mean, I get the sense that 99% of the people in the world are normal, but the 1%, that's a lot of people, 1%, and it's
And the reality is, even when we talk about normal or those who are not normal, I think oftentimes when people, commit hate crimes, because that's what last week was. It was a anti-Semitic hate crime, in my opinion. Sometimes people look for a reason, or they look for, maybe this person is mentally ill, maybe this person is this or that. The reality is, promoting hate, especially when you do so through physical violence, it's a choice.
Okay.
It's a choice.
Oh,
It's a choice.
all right.
And
I
we
think we're
gotta
ready to
hold
start.
people
Mordechai,
accountable.
you can mute. Mordechai, that's definitely not my house. I'm in the school library, Synagogue library. Okay, Mordechai. All right, I think I can mute everyone also, except for, let me see if I can pull that off.
And we're live. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that we were live now. We've been live the whole time.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Okay, the host has spotlighted you video for everyone. Okay, but I would love to be Mordechai side by side. There we go. Okay.
That
So
works.
first of all, I want to thank the Honorable Jill Andrew for coming on board. I just saw that you got off another Zoom, half an hour ago. So hopefully you were able to grab a bite or something. It's very much appreciated.
I tell you.
So I actually, I just want everyone to get to know, you were so, every Shabbos, every Saturday in synagogue, we actually make a blessing for all of our representatives in Canada, that they should have, wisdom and be healthy and make the right choices. And so we actually bless you every week. So thank you.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for that, because I need all the blessings I can get. So I certainly appreciate that. And again, I'm very, very happy to be joining you this evening. And, just to reiterate again, my deep frustration, anger, and disappointment in that person who, made that choice to not only repeat anti-Semitic slurs, but to also go that step further, of attacking the person who was confronting them on their anti-Semitism. That has no place here, and no place anywhere, quite frankly.
Thank you. It's, I know that that you feel that sincerely. It was a great honor to have you here, I think a year ago, when when we had that great story of the candlesticks. And I'll tell you that the candlestick story, actually, we're I don't know if everyone knows here, but we're actually writing a children's book. So we're almost out with the children's book. And, when we become really famous, I might leave the career as a rabbi and, with this book going, New York Times bestseller. So this actually could be my last interview, and out of here, I'm going to go to Hollandale. But I really, it's very funny, because I think that, I spoke to, you speak to many doctors. My dad's a PhD, and he always says that we're the real doctors. So I don't know if you agree with that, but he, it's like, I was always told, you're going to be a lawyer when you grow up. You're going to be a lawyer when you grow up. And then I pivoted and I became a rabbi. But I think most doctors, I think everyone can agree, disagree, they knew they were going to be doctors when they were 6 years old. I don't know how many people said they're going to be a provincial legislator. So exactly.
Well, I certainly didn't. That's for sure.
Right. So
I didn't.
So what's your story? How did you become a MPP?
What's my story? Well, I'll start by saying, I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a talk show host. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I still want to be a veterinarian. I think that's the one childhood dream or maybe fantasy that I still have an inkling towards. I also wanted to be a child psychologist. As a survivor, I wanted to be able to support kids, and I certainly got great help from my child psychologist, and I thought it was something that I could do in my world. Nonetheless, I went into education because I really wanted, to care for our young ones' minds. I became a child and youth worker. I'm also a certified teacher. I worked as a teacher for a short while. And I also went on to be an equity advisor, which was an opportunity to work with all kinds of schools across Toronto, and really just supporting students and supporting educators and education workers around the issues of racism, around the issues of oppression and discrimination, and sort of helping them create plans, for their schools, for their school communities, and how to handle that. Most recently, I was a contract lecturer at Ryerson University, where I taught a course on fashion and fashion diversity. Because I think it's very important for us to think about how we present ourselves in the world. And, our clothing, our accessories, not only can they be linked to our culture or our religion, but they can also be linked to our opinions on social movements, on activism, on the environment, you name it, So I come to politics from an educator standpoint. I was asked to run a long time ago. Sometimes it feels like 30 years ago. Other times it feels like just short of 3 years ago, and I always say ask to run because I think it's important for women, especially. It's especially important for women to know that politics is a place where we belong. We belong here. It's also an important thing for BIPOC members of our community, for any group that is made to feel marginalized or excluded, or frankly, who hasn't really seen themselves represented in policy and in legislation. It's important for them to know that Queen's Park is a place where they can work, where they can serve as an MPP. So it was, pardon me?
Yeah, so this person that asked you to run, I hope you still like them.
That's a good one. That's a very fun piece, and it certainly wasn't one person. I had a few people who sort of said throughout my life, quite frankly. I think back to one old boss of mine. I might have been 20 or 21 years old. Jill, you're opinionated. You care about community. You've got a big voice. You should get into politics. But back then I certainly didn't have my eyes set on that. But there were several people who encouraged me and supported me and spoke to me into the wee hours of the morning or, late at night, answering my questions, and very funnily, sometimes I think to myself, you didn't tell me this is what it was going to be like some days. Other days I say, wow, this is exactly what I expected.
Wow.
It's a very, politics is an interesting beast. It really is. I think the highlight of this role for me is just getting to speak to community members, getting to be involved. I don't ever suggest that I'm speaking for people because I do believe that everybody has their own voice. Some of us are just, more adapted to using that voice. More of us have access to platforms to use that voice. But it certainly is an honor to be able to represent the voices of our folks here in St. Paul's at Queen's Park. So that's a good part. That's a good part of the job.
I'm going to feel like a hypocrite right now. I don't know if
Sure.
the word is a hypocrite, but I'm going to ask you, it's 8 o'clock, it's Thursday night. And so how do you do a work-life balance when you're speaking to us at 8 p.m.?
That is something that I must say, in my first year, I was terrible at it. Very, very much so. Second year, tried to get a little better. Again, had some of those mentors sort of come and knock on my door. Some elected, some not elected, some otherwise community leaders. Jill, you've got another cold, you've got another flu, you got to rest, you got to settle down. So I've actually gotten a little better at saying no at times. I think it's necessary to say no. No doesn't mean never, but sometimes you got to be able to look at your week and say, oh boy, I can't do it this week, but I can do it next week, or I can do it next month, or whatever the case might be. Work-life balance, I don't think any politician or anyone that is trying to lead as best they can, I'm sure you're in a very similar situation. The work is bigger than you are, and your commitment and your honor to the work is bigger than you are. And that, while that is a very positive way of looking at this work, it can also be a bit of a negative too, because it doesn't allow us to see the need for that work-life balance. And it is necessary. It certainly is necessary, especially now that we're living through this pandemic. In order for me to be able to convey some optimism, for me to be able to convey some hope, I have to have had sleep the night before.
Right.
So.
Right. I believe your email around 4 or 5 times a week. Maybe it's coming 7 times a week. So I know that you have, you must have staff, but it's
yes.
So in terms of social
media, nothing happens
media,
by yourself.
Right. In terms of social media, good people, if they say one wrong thing, they could be in big trouble.
Yes.
So how many times, you say can and you meant to say can't. So how many times are you rereading stuff just to make sure? Because if you said something wrong, I think by mistake, I think most people will be like, come on, she's a good person. She didn't mean that. But how careful are you, reviewing everything that goes out? Or you're like, come on, people are chilled and they know what I stand for.
Well, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I don't think politicians are above making errors. That said, I try to be very diligent, and very vigilant in terms of looking at key communications. Have there been typos on a tweet? For sure. I think I actually saw a typo today or yesterday. I thought, oh my goodness, I must have been too quick on that one to press post. But at the same time, I also recognize that when you post something, it's public and it's there. And you might post an opinion that's not the opinion of that person down the street or whatever the case might be. If that's an opinion that you're willing to stand by. And I don't really post anything. I don't post anything that I'm not willing to stand by. Then you got to realize that you might get a little heat for it, but if you're standing by your words, then you're standing by your words. If you've made an error, if I make an error, the idea is to try to correct it right away, especially if it's an error that could leave people wondering about my values or my judgment on a particular issue.
Behind closed doors, is everyone just schmoozing and having a good time with each other? You disagree on Premier Ford on a lot of sort of stuff, but behind closed doors, are you guys just having a good time and relaxing in each other's presence? Or is it I
have to be very, very honest with you. I've never been a big fraternizer at work. I can tell you that. I go into my office, I'm at Queen's Park, and my vision is pretty tunnel vision, and that is Toronto St. Paul's, and how do I bring our voices and our stories into the legislature? I've had a few passing hellos with the Premier. He is our Premier, and therefore, if I see him in the hallway, I'm going to say hello, and he responds, or he says hello, and I respond, but I have to be very, very honest with you all and say that there really isn't much smiling and, camaraderie where I'm concerned with the government. And, obviously this is a casual conversation. I don't want to get too partisan or political, but for me, being a person who I care deeply, And for better or for worse, I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve. My mother warns me, don't do that in politics. So when there's legislation that, in my opinion, does more harm than good, or isn't the focus that should be the focus during a pandemic, or that doesn't support our most marginalized communities, those who are most downtrodden, or those who are, the least secure in terms of income or food or housing. It's really hard to grab a coffee. It's really hard to laugh at the cafeteria, obviously the cafeteria is not open and all of that because of COVID, but it's really hard to just sort of humor that away, because they've got power. When you're the government, you've got power. And the idea is to use that power, but the idea is to use it in consultation with the community. And I think that means listening to the voices that are least heard, quite frankly, is where you start. That's how we build. That's how we, respond and recover from COVID and go on, so that our kids can have a better day as well too, right?
Okay, so I'm going to throw out a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what does your day off look like?
Ooh, so technically, what's a day off look? Now I'm going to try to remember the last day off. Well, here's the thing, right? Sometimes you have an evening and it's like, okay, I'm going to take these 3 hours and this is just for calling personal friends,
Right.
And then something pops up and you kind of have to make that call, and that happened for me last week, actually. And I made the call to sort of put off the personal piece and get to work, this job, it's 24/7. I mean, certainly your office has office hours, you've got office hours. I had a wonderful holiday with my family, December 25th, my family being my partner and my 2 cats. We dropped off, Din Din for mom. That was nice. I certainly took time off on December 25th. So there's moments when you take that time because that's your self-care.
Right.
That's your mental health. You know what I mean? But complete days off where you're not checking email or texts or you're completely unavailable.
Right.
It's tricky, but it's something that we should have and we should work towards. And, certainly I'm working towards that.
If I asked this question recently to someone, just curious, if you win $1 million and you can give it to one charity, what charity would you give it to?
Oh my gosh.
Not including the
Please.
Forest Hill Jewish Center. Of course, that would be your first choice.
Well, I'm actually not going to mention a name of that charity that I would give it to. But I will say this, based on, because the truth of the matter is I can't think of just one charity. I can't think of just one organization. But what I would say is based on my lived experience, being a kid surviving sexual abuse, being a young person who knew what it was like to sort of have to live with family, at different times when things got hard, being a queer person who knows, the kinds of transphobia and homophobia, that people experience in our cities, in our country, in our province, across the globe, being someone who has been saved, quite frankly, by sick kids. I was a sick kids kid and they literally saved my life. Any charity that I would support would be a charity that does good work for children and youth. It would be a charity that does work around addressing anti-racism and equity issues. It would be a charity that's focusing on rare illnesses, on healthcare. And these are actually some of the kinds of charities that I already support. And of course, I am obsessed with cats. I tell you, I love animals. I love animals, big ones, small ones, so I often think about them as well too. And, there's always so many places that you want to help and causes that you want to help as well too, or that you want to participate in creating solutions for.
If I can circle back to something, I'm just curious, you had a trauma growing up.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you're a PhD, you're a member of provincial parliament. I mean, you're would you say that you know that you're like a diamond in the rough, like considering like how many other people are struggling? So I'm just curious, did you, when you were going, you said a lot of people helped you. I'm just curious, was there a point in your brain that said, I got to help myself, and then all those people helped you, or did they help you get to that point, or did you say, I'm going to help myself, and then they helped me?
I see what you're saying, you know, there's an ideology around help, right? That some get it right and some get it differently, is how I put it. You know, I'm always wary of neoliberalism. I'm always wary of this concept, you know, of the bootstrap ideology. You know, I made it, so can you. You know, I know that unequivocally, the reason that I'm sitting in this seat, the reason that I'm alive, you know, the reason I'm not necessarily even sitting in this seat, but the reason I've gotten to this point in my life where I could be in a position, you know, to have confidence, to love myself, to feel that I had something that I could contribute back to community. You know, that had to do with, you know, community services. That had to do with social programs. That had to do, you know, with Tropicana. You know, that had to do with Tropicana was a community center, like a community social services center. That had to do, you know, with the good doctors, quite frankly, psychologists, you know, who have helped me along my way. You know, that had to do with the good teachers that I had. And I mean, I know, we know that, you know, many kids are experiencing all kinds of inequities, you know, even in school settings. So not every teacher is the perfect teacher, but I've been lucky to have so many good teachers and so many good education workers that worked with me, you know, and the tenacity and the resilience of my own mother, you know, and people who I look up to, you know. So I think that I don't think I ever turned on a switch that said, I need help, or I'm going to make it, so I need to reach out. I just think that I've always believed that you can't become on an island. Like, you just can't become on an island. You know, we are all becoming, we're all works in progress, and we need people and we need supports. You know, it's why we need our social net. You know, it's why we need to help people more now than ever during the pandemic. That's the only way we get out. That's the only way that we can build into being, quote unquote, you know, people who can then lead in whatever capacity we're leading in. That only happens when we have the supports to teach us how to be, how to become, quote unquote, how to find that self-confidence, that self-love, that desire to change, to do good change in a community, you know? So that's my answer today.
So it seems that you started the Black Caucus. What is,
I didn't start it.
Okay.
I didn't start it. So I'm a member of the Ontario NDP Black Caucus. I am certainly one of the founding members.
Founding members. Okay.
Yes, one of the founding members.
For someone that's I'm not the most political. I care about community, but I don't know the nuances so well. So you know, what does the Black Caucus mean to the community, and you know, how do you help people with
this? I will start at the beginning. The Black Caucus, you know, really grew out of conversations that we were having, quite frankly, as the NDP official opposition, with Black community members across the province. We had identified, as many know, that Black voices, you know, Caribbean voices, African diasporic voices, you know, haven't really been centered in politics. You know, it hasn't really been centered, you know, within the bowels of legislative change. So we were very eager to bring community to Queen's Park, and we actually did that. We brought community to Queen's Park, of course, along with phone calls and emails and on other ways of outreach. And it was community that decided, you know, let's create a Black Caucus. You know, you all are the 5 MPPs who are elected. You are members of our official opposition. The NDP, had been the only party that had elected enough Black MPPs to form a Black Caucus.
Right.
And there we were. And really, a lot of the work of Black Caucus, stems around addressing anti-racism, addressing the inequities that are in our community. And that's why we're fighting so hard to have an anti-racism directorate, in the province of Ontario. And it's not only to fight against anti-Black racism or anti-Indigenous racism or anti-Semitism, but to look at Islamophobia, xenophobia, to look at all kinds of forms of discrimination, quite frankly, that hamper our ability as a community to grow, to be daring, to be bold with our ideas. We can't do any of that. Our legislation also suffers if we don't have that lens of recognizing how it can disproportionately impact one group or many groups as opposed to others. We're also a party that has gender parity. That was also very important, and that was something that I'm very proud of. We need more women in politics. We need young girls to look and say, wait a second, I can do that. And that's why Women Win TO, is an organization that I went to. I participated in their workshop for Toronto, progressive, possible would-be politicians. And that was also a really seminal opportunity for me to look around the room and see other folks, who were also, self-identifying as progressive, and see women of color, see Indigenous women, Black women, racialized women, interested in running in politics. So it's very important. I think our communities need to be represented by people who have lived experience. So this legislation isn't just a task. It's not just a thing, but it's something that we directly correlate with having an impact on people's lives.
You've been an MPP for a while. Where do you see yourself in 10 or 15 years from now?
Oh my, that is a question. That is a question. 10 or 15 years from now, it's very possible that I may return to my scholastic roots. I might be back in academia. Who knows? I may even have a cat sanctuary, right? Okay. Or I may be representing Toronto St. Paul's as your MPP. Who knows what the future has? I mean, for right now, my future is, to work hard, to be continually grateful to those who have supported me, and even those who didn't vote for me or who didn't support me. I need to also continue building relationships with them, right, in hopes that they will see my authenticity, to see my work ethic, and maybe they'll even reelect me next year.
Are you going to get butterflies? Do you get butterflies the night before election? You vomit?
Oh,
what happens?
I get butterflies before every speech, I tell you. I remember doing a TED Talk many years ago, and there I was behind the drapes doing jumping jacks, to calm. Butterflies, what I know about politics is, every politician has to know that their seat is not theirs. Their seat is their community's, So in that regard, I actually wasn't that nervous in 2018. I just knew that I had done the best job I could. Our team had done the best job we could. And it was up to the fine folks of St. Paul's to figure out what they wanted. So that takes out a lot of the butterflies, right? Because it's not I'm not running a track race here, No. I'm simply doing the best I can, and it's up for the community to decide.
So a little butterfly, not zero.
Not zero, but I think just really hyper aware. I was very hyper aware that it was E-Day. It's right. E-Day. Wow, this is E-Day. By this time tomorrow, I could be an MPP or not. Right. Man, what's going to happen? That's where we were. And then, of course, when you win, there's some tears. I remember there I was at Yonge and St. Clair, embracing loved ones. We were crying and, all of that jazz. And the next day I was at Queen's Park.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. Some people are asking me questions from the side. So
Okay.
I know that we have, I know you
Yes,
said
small
a half
time,
an hour.
I
we
know.
can- Okay, we got a couple more minutes. People ask me questions on the side privately and I appreciate it. So just, so I'm not the only representative of the Jewish community. And have you connected over the years with other Jewish communities and organizations? Someone's asking.
I have. I've particularly connected around Out of the Cold. I've been quite moved by the work that Out of the Cold does. I've been quite moved by the work of Seeds of Hope, for instance, that's doing quite a lot to help support those who are experiencing homelessness right here. I've had many occasions to go to Holy Blossom. I've had many occasions, visiting Beth Tzedek. I've had occasions to speak at events where, Jewish community has wanted to talk about anti-Black racism, has wanted to talk about anti-Semitism and how we build a connection, how we build a bridge, so that we're not, surely there's differences, but how do we build on those differences to get stronger? I see that Tema Smith is speaking what's his name? Mr. Whitty or Twitty, Mr. Whitty, I think it is, from Harvard University next week, I think it is. And they're talking on, this idea of Jewish identity, Black identity. And I think the speech is called, or the topic is called, We're Not That Far Apart, And I think it's important for us to really sit and reflect on that. We all have differences in our backyards. We certainly have a very diverse riding here, but that is an opportunity for growth. And it's an opportunity to learn from one another. It can get uncomfortable. Heck, it can even get darn right upsetting at times, but we have to be willing to show up. Otherwise we keep doing good work in silos. And that doesn't help anyone.
Okay, so just another question. Would you like to be the premier?
No, I do not wish to be the premier. I am very, very happy being the member of provincial parliament for Toronto St. Paul's, functioning in my role as an MPP. Maybe one day I'll be a minister. Who knows? Maybe I'll be a PA. I have gotten the premier question quite a bit, but right now it is not in my sight.
Okay, next, just a couple of quick questions. What do you have against dogs?
Oh, I love dogs as well, actually.
Okay.
What do I do? You know what? Nothing beats the hug from a golden retriever, quite frankly. Though I must say that I love the lab dogs. I am also a teacup person too. But cats, for some reason, there's just something about them. I love their personalities. People think they don't have personalities, but they do. And I just also love big cats as well. They're just regal and they're powerful and they demand respect.
Yeah, I mean, we have around 8 or 9. We have around 8 or 9 cats in the shul, but that's last names. Okay, bad corny joke. Okay, I see Vivian Katz there. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming on board. It's been really, really sweet of you. I know how busy you are, and I must say, I knew that you were passionate before we even this conversation, but your answers were just so, and the way you communicate is just filled with so much honesty. And a blessing to all of Canada that even, the people all from different stripes, they should bring an honesty and a warmth. And I think if they bring what you bring, Canada's has a very bright future. So that's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate the opportunity and call me anytime. Welcome me back anytime.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on board and have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Take an hour off, okay?
I'm going to eat. I'm going to have a great dinner. All right. Take good care.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Vivian.
Thanks for coming to speak with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Mordechai, beautiful. Thank you. Heather, great to see you. Vivian Katz.
Got it.
Got it. Okay, corny. Okay,
It worked for me. It worked for me.
take care. You everyone.
Good night, everyone.